Greetings. You with Tanisha Ali of Butterfly Transformations, and today we're going to be talking about 3 key ascension symptoms that can also be overlooked by your average person who's not on a spiritual journey consciously, because we all are on a spiritual journey because we're spiritual beings. So they can be overlooked, or you can sometimes forget what they are as you get wrapped up in the day-to-day life. And although you may not be experiencing a major awakening, you are still on a spiritual journey throughout your lifetime, raising your vibration. And sometimes it happens more noticeably than other times. Like right now, with everything that's going on in our environment, with the viral thing that's happening, with the shift in the cosmos, with the planets conjuncting or aligning, with so many other things that are happening, the unrest in society, you can get so caught up in that you forget that everything that we see first has its reality in the unseen realm. So we're going to talk about the 3 main symptoms so that you can look at your own life wherever you are in your journey. You can look at the past, things you've gone through. You can look at what you're dealing with now, and then you can also look at what you can expect perhaps to experience as you continue to work through whatever your current situation may be in your life. So if this looks like something that you want to stick around and hear about, please do so. Make sure you hit the like button, the subscribe, and possibly comment at the end of the video once you realize what the value of this content may be for you. The other thing I want to mention is, if you have not purchased my book, Manifesting Your Masterpiece, you can get it on Amazon or Barnes & Noble. And hopefully my next book will be out within the next couple of months. So anyway, let's dig into this content. First thing I want to talk about are, what are some of the symptoms? Then I want to go into how these symptoms play out. And then I want to talk a bit about some of the things that you can do to counteract the symptoms or to lessen them, because they can be pretty disruptive in your day-to-day life. And if you're not in tune with what you're experiencing, you're going to experience the symptoms in a much more negative way, and you won't be able to move through them as easily or as quickly, because you may be afraid of some of the symptoms, because many of the symptoms are often diagnosed by modern medicine as other things. So first, let's talk about when you're going through a spiritual awakening, which you're going to go through throughout your life. Everybody goes through them. Some are just more aware of what's happening than others, and they give it a name. It feels like the spiritual flu. It feels like the flu physically, but it's a spiritual flu rather than a physical flu. So if you go and get tested by your doctor, they're not going to be able to show anything that's happening physically on your body. Sometimes that's because the pathology of the illness has not reached such proportions where it can be picked up by the machinery that's used. Other times it's because it's simply not going to be picked up because there's not anything physically wrong with you. So you do have to be able to differentiate, for example, between the type of anxiety that comes with a spiritual awakening and the type of anxiety that may come from a PTSD situation of domestic violence or being in the military. 2 different situations. So the first symptom that can let you know that you may be having a spiritual awakening is really has to do with something going on in your life that feels disruptive, that feels turbulent, where you feel as though your life is changing in some really major way. You are deciding to make a change in your life, and because of the changes that you're having to think about, it feels uneasy. It feels like something new. It feels like a transition. Now, these are changes that you may initiate. For example, after years of being in a verbally abusive relationship, you might decide to leave. something about, that's my dog, what's going on? Something about you deciding to leave is different because you had plenty of other opportunities in the past to leave, but you didn't. So there's a different level of awareness. I need to get this card because, you know, I'm going to pull cards for y'all too. Yep, and I guess what fell out needed to fall out right on transformation. So, and it's card 33. So guess what? That's what we're going to talk about. And right on the back of it is shadow self. So that's right in line, thank you God, with exactly what we're talking about. When you're going through some type of transformation, there's upheaval in your life. You feel like you have had a tower moment. Things are falling down. It could be a shattering of something you always believed was true that you built your life on. Like, for example, you had to go to a specific church, or that you have been going to the same church for 20 years and you don't feel as though you're getting spiritually fed. It could be that the upheaval is some other aspect in your life related to a job. Maybe you say, I can't go in here anymore. It's making me ill. And although you put up with it for years, you can't do it anymore. So you're going through some type of transformation that is either initiated by you or feels out of your control. Similar to what's happening in society right now with this illness business. A lot of it feels like it's out of people's control, and it's become very disruptive in their lives because it's forcing them inside, literally inside their houses, but also inside here, which is one of the other symptoms that we will also talk about as we go on a little further. I do want to also talk about part of that turbulence is that you're coming face to face with your shadow self. And your shadow self is the part of you that moves with you. Your shadow always moves with you. You see it on the wall here a little? It always moves with you, but you sometimes don't see it and you don't pay it any attention. At certain times of the day, between 12 and 2, the shadow's very clear. At certain times in your life, it's very clear because it's creating angst, it's creating negativity, it's causing you to clash with people, it's causing you to feel better than people, it's causing you to point the finger and judge other people, it's causing trauma to come up, it's causing a sense of rawness to come up. So the shadow is coming up during this period, which means you're faced to deal with those ugly parts of you, the parts of you that you want to hide, or the parts that shouldn't feel ugly, but they manifest as ugliness if you don't deal with them. If you have anger issues for some reason, the anger will be coming up. It will seem that everybody you meet is making you angry, or as we say, is triggering you in some way. If you have an alcohol problem, it will seem to reach a critical mass during these periods, and you will feel as though you need to drink more. If you have a problem with anxiety, it will worsen. If you have issues with post-traumatic stress and they create opportunities or issues in your life where you fly off the handle or you have nightmares, those things will reach a critical mass and they'll play out in other areas of your life. So we're dealing with these two aspects of self, the self that we see and the unconscious self. And the unconscious self, although we haven't brought it to our awareness, because it's always there, it's going to keep coming up until we deal with it, until we heal that shadow and we bring it out into the light along with the rest of us, okay? So a second symptom is that you start feeling as though life, the way you've been living it, it's not doing it for you anymore. You have too many questions. You're contemplating deeper things in your life, like maybe why I grew up this way, or why did my parents raise me that way, or how did I come to believe such and such, or how have I been on this job for the longest time that I hate? Maybe you drop out of college after being a semester away from graduating because you realize I never really wanted to go to college, or what, I did this for somebody else. Maybe you have something else in life that brings you face to face with the question of, what is my purpose? Why am I here? Why am I feeling out of sync with what everybody else is doing? You start to feel different in a sort of way, and you need more to get along in life. You're no longer just satisfied with watching the same movies you used to watch. Maybe you used to play video games all day. Suddenly you find a few months have gone by and you're spending more time outside walking at the park, and you're not playing video games as much. Whatever it is, life is the way you've been living it, you start to question it. The third and final most critical thing that happens when you are going through a spiritual ascension, or you're raising your vibration, or you're experiencing an upgrade, or you're activating certain DNA codes that evolve you as a human being, is the need to trust your inner knowing. Your intuitive insights start to carry more weight in your life, which means the intuitive impulses that you have, or the things that help you to be able to read and interpret your world, start to come from within you rather than without you or outside of you. So maybe you don't worship what you see on TV anymore because you see a higher reality and you know that there's something else behind the scenes. Maybe you decide to look at the plethora of what we are taking in terms of medications as the pharmaceutical companies need to make money off of us. And so you start questioning what it is your doctor is asking you to take, because your soul is telling you maybe you don't need that. Maybe you need to change your diet and exercise. You start redefining your reality, recognizing and giving more weight to your own ability to know what you need as an individual. You may look at things around you and say, how can I go to the doctor's office and they not check my individual issues, but align me with what they see in everyone else and diagnose me and give me medication, when you can't feed all the children in your family the same thing because they have different allergies, when you can't raise all of your children the same way because they all have different personalities, when you are not the same person in each relationship that you may find yourself in because you are different with each person. There's a different energy. So how is it that society has put us in these boxes? So rather than accept that, you go within. And similar to what's happening around us today, people are being forced within. You have to start to study yourself. You have to start to listen to what your soul is telling you. You may find yourself meditating more. As you begin to do more of this inner work, you start to notice in your outer world more synchronistic events, more people who may come to you talking about what it is you had a question about last night. You're waking up later at night, in the middle of the night during the angel hours, and you're having prophetic visions or visions of things that bring you profound insight into your life and sometimes into the lives of other people, because you're now listening, you're now tuned in. So these are just some of the ways that it can play out. It can play out in a whole multitude of other ways. So you'll have to allow your mind to journey as you try to understand, or if maybe you can't identify with one of these things I've talked about, maybe there's another way that this is affecting you, your intuition, the voice within. You may have more coincidences. A coincidence, we need to redefine that. A coincidence is when events coincide at the same time. It's a synchronistic event. But we always say it's not a coincidence. There are no coincidences, when in reality everything is actually a coincidence when you take into consideration what the word coinciding means, things coming together. So you start to see so many things coming together in your life, so many synchronistic events. And suddenly you're able to become more attuned to the lessons that you're supposed to be learning and the life path that you're on, and you start to trust your heart more, and you start to desire to live more in the flow of life. So you may want to release some of the things that you felt were making you too busy, so that you have maybe more time to meditate or to sun gaze or to lay out in the grass at the park, or to take time during your work schedule to sit on the bench outside the office rather than plug away on your computer. So the next thing I want to talk about is the source of some of the main symptoms, because when you experience the upheaval, when you experience the need to go within, when you experience when you start questioning life, along with that is a shattering of something that used to be. It's like somebody, when you're asleep at night, coming in and snatching all the blankets off the bed. You're going to wake up and be alarmed, right? Or your dog starts to bark in the middle of the night and it startles you, or something else happens in a shocking way to pull the rug from under you because you can no longer keep going along unconscious the way you have. You feel shocked, right? You feel, oh my gosh. So in that, you have anxiety and you feel out of sorts. You feel on edge. You feel discombobulated. You feel off. You feel like the people around you, they feel different. Maybe you feel like you're in a twilight zone. You just start feeling some kind of way. That happens because as you come face to face with who you thought you were, your ego has to begin to be broken down and put in its proper place. It begins to die in ego death. That's what we mean. It begins to disintegrate, because along with evolution is learning, is a need and almost the consequence of becoming more humble, more accepting of people, less into labeling and judging. So you start to have to address and deal with yourself. For example, if I felt my entire life that Jews were stingy and they came to the planet to rip off black people, for example, I may come face to face with 5 Jew people in the next 2 weeks, or Jewish people in the next 2 weeks, and they may be some of the kindest people I've ever dealt with, and it may make me feel uncomfortable because I've told myself all these years that I was different than them and that they were different than me, and I'm wondering, who are these people and how can they be different from the other Jewish people that I know, and why are these people more supportive of me than maybe the people who are closer to me. So you're being faced with all of this stuff, and your personality, which has defined your reality, has to take a back seat to what your soul is telling you. And your soul is saying, we are one. We are connected. I'm a human. They're a human. They're afraid just like you're afraid. They have stereotypes against you that you're breaking down. We're both doing shadow work, but this time is sacred. It could be that. It could be something in a marriage that you're dealing with. It could be something on the job with your boss that you're dealing with. But all this stuff starts to come up, and it's not just judgment ego stuff. It's the busyness of the mind. So it starts to disintegrate. That part of you that's been overrunning your life because you've been living from up here instead of from the heart and from the soul. You've let your ego steer you in your life. You've let it tell you that you're better than other people. You've let it accept the labels that you've been given and raised with that make you feel different than other people. And suddenly you're recognizing, wow, we have different experiences that shaped us, but fundamentally, they want the same things in life that I want. And the reasons why we are fighting has less to do with why we are different, but more to do with why we are alike. And so you start addressing things. So the ego doesn't want to go down without a fight. So it's going to fight the whole way. It's going to make you more fearful. It's going to give you greater anxiety. It's going to make you feel panic, because remember, while you're dealing with this mental stuff, you're also having a physical class of symptoms that are happening during this ascension process or this spiritual flu. The first 3 things that I said you would notice help you to identify that you're going through a spiritual transformation. Those are the spiritual symptoms. I just talked to you about some of the mental symptoms, but you have a whole class of emotional and physical symptoms that are going to accompany this overall spiritual transformation, and they are many. And so that I don't forget, I'm going to give you some of the basics, because really a lot of this is going to have to go in another video. Physical symptoms, things like literally the anxiety and the restlessness that you feel. as your body is being upgraded, as your mental state of mind is being upgraded, as everything that's a heavy lower vibration, anything that's negative is a heavy low vibration. Fear is a low vibration. Living in separation is a low vibration. Not seeing the connectedness in life, in mankind, in creation is a lower vibration. So as your body starts to ascend, and as you start to ascend in your consciousness and let things go that can no longer be a belief system for you, because you recognize they are very old, antiquated, separatist types of views, then you start to vibrate faster. Now, as you're vibrating faster, or as the universe or God is evolving you, those things that were lower vibration can't stand in that higher vibratory frequency. It's like when you're running a race. When someone can't keep up, you leave them behind, right? And eventually you may lap them, and eventually you can't see them anymore. You're so far ahead. So those things have to drop off. The dropping off of those things is not always a happy, easy transition, because it creates physical symptoms, okay? Things like sensitivities, because while this is happening, the central nervous system is going crazy. It's been stimulated. The central nervous system is responsible for just about everything that we experience, both physiologically and biologically, emotionally, things that we perceive in our energetic worlds, which are at the quantum level. It's responsible for all of that. So as it is going through its upgrades, you are experiencing all types of sensory stimuli, symptoms, things such as ultra sensitivity to light. You may find that the light from light bulbs, the computer, the sun seems to be brighter than normal, or everything seems to be a little bit more third dimensional, fourth dimensional, 3D. Like when you would put the 3D glasses on in the theater, it seems to be more like that. It's heavier and more intense. Maybe you're getting migraine headaches. Maybe your head feels congested and heavy as if you had a cold. Your hearing becomes more pronounced, which means you may be startled more easily. If something drops or you hear a loud noise, you may feel startled, because your central nervous system is adjusting to something that is new. You may feel overly sensitive in terms of your emotions. You may feel more aggravated, more irritated, more on edge, more like you can't tolerate certain things. And these are some of the general anxieties that you may feel. You may also feel some social anxieties, such as not wanting to be around people as much. You may find you want to be alone. In fact, you might find that being alone is a necessity right now, and you just cannot tolerate other people. And even when you try to go out and be around other people, you feel like you got to go, because your sensory nervous system is picking up everything. So you're picking up their energy. You're picking up their phobias. You're picking up their fears. You may even be seeing and hearing things that your psychic energy field is relating to you, because it's in overdrive. Right now you feel very out of balance, because this is also starting to open, or this is opening more. It's likely already open if you're going through this, but it's starting to vibrate faster and it's starting to open more. So you're experiencing all of these things. I know that this is going kind of long. So just see it as though your whole energy field, the auric field around you with the same layers that mirror the chakras, is cracking open wide. It's breaking open. And so it's like, it's raw. And so your experience of life is more intense. It's more raw. And everything that's going on is stimulating, which is why you may feel a rush inside. You may feel heart palpitations for short periods of time, just come and go. You may feel it difficult to sleep. Your mind is active, because all of the information that is available to you at all times that you are not conscious of is now starting to flow through, because your frequency is able to attract a different type of consciousness and information and knowledge at this time, because of where you are in your journey. So I want to talk about some ways to cope. And I have literally 15. I'm not going to go into all of these 15 because it's too many. I'm going to go into maybe 6 or 7 And then we'll stop and I'll do another video on ways to cope with Ascension symptoms. And just keep an eye out for that over the next several, videos that are released. So one of the first things that you can do that is most helpful is to practice deep breathing. There's a different type of breathing when you breathe in through your nose from your tantien, which is your abdominal space, and you breathe out through your nose. Then when you breathe in through your nose from this space and you breathe out through your mouth. There are different methods of breathing. The point is that you want to breathe very deeply. You want to take the time to center your body, straighten your spine, relax your feet, ground your feet on the floor, or if you're lying in bed, you want to lay straight with your hands by your side. Bring your awareness inside. You want to take those deep breaths. Let your exhale be longer than your inhale. There's also a different type of breath that happens when you breathe out and you stimulate your throat chakra like this. Versus this one. Let me send that text to. Some of you may find one or the other works better for you. The point is that the mind and the body have an intimate relationship. They sleep together, they're married, they make love all the time. When you think something, your body already starts that process immediately. When you say I'm thirsty, your body is already doing what it needs to do to start to take water from other parts of your system before you even finish the sentence. When your body has an experience, it automatically registers in your mind. So these things are happening online and offline at all times. So when you need to slow your mind down and you need to slow your vitals down, you simply start with the deep breathing. It brings you into the present moment, all right? That's probably the most valuable thing that you can do to slow yourself down, second only to this one, which is number 2, which is to understand that you are going through a spiritual flu or a spiritual awakening or a raising in your vibration, and not only acknowledging that, but validating it for yourself. You're not going to find anybody else that's really going to probably be around you to validate that for you unless you're around your soul tribe or people who are consciously journeying right now and traveling the frequency. The other reason why it's important to do that is that if you let your mind, your ego that's disintegrating, that's no longer in the driver's seat now, something else is operating in your life, your soul is steering you in a different direction. Ego doesn't want to quit the job, doesn't want to be fired, won't give a resignation, right? It's not going down without a fight. It's getting ready to go postal. So it's going to tell you you're having an anxiety attack. You have this disease, you have that disease. Go to the doctor, do this, do that, It's going to go on and on and on until it drives you crazy. And literally, for most of you, it is not a physicality that can be diagnosed, visualized, or treated by your doctor. It can be mistreated, though. If you're unaware of what you're dealing with, you will end up taking medications that make you even more loopy and only compound your issues. So it's important that you validate it. The other thing that you want to do is see if you can't reach out to other people in your tribe. Sometimes that may be going to a meetup. It may be going to a live session on YouTube that one of the spiritual people, leaders that you follow is doing. It may be calling up or getting or securing a mentor or a spiritual life coach. It could be getting on the phone and just talking to someone who you trust, who maybe has been there before. It could be getting around more people who do more meditation, who are on more of a spiritual journey. But it's important for you to get in where you fit in during this time, because most of the other people who are dealing with this unconsciously, meaning they don't realize it, they have no idea what's going on in their life, they're going to bring more chaos into your life, because they're going to bring more judgment into your life. They're going to think that they know what's going on with you, and they don't know what's going on with themselves. They will also have so much heavy energy that's happening in their own lives that even if you try to reach out to them to even help them, it's going to be a waste of your energy. This is a time where you go within and you focus on yourself. This is not a time to be a martyr, nor is it a time to really lean on the explanations of other people. It is time to go within. The fourth thing that you have to do is self-care. This is very, very important. You have to make sure you're getting a lot of fluids. You can get to feel so yucky that you can forget to drink plenty of water. You have to make sure that if you need to take a few days off from work, that you do that. You have to make sure that you take your spiritual baths. You have to make sure that you get your body work. You have to make sure that you're eating nutritive foods, because oftentimes during these periods, your body can less tolerate, number one, a lot of food. Can't tolerate a lot of food. You won't be eating as much as you normally eat. Number two, you can ill tolerate the things that you used to eat that just don't vibrate with a higher frequency. There's such a thing as higher frequency foods, which are living foods, foods that are alive, that still are vibrating, like fruit, whole fruit, things that are living. When we eat dead foods like meat, processed meat is worse than the meat that still looks alive in the pack, like meaning it's not rancid. Processed meats, prepackaged foods, all of those sort of things are going to shock your central nervous system, your digestive tract, your metabolism, and it's going to make you feel worse. So you're going to have to make sure that you eat better foods. The last thing I want to talk about, so that we can go ahead and end this video, there's just too many other things. I'm going to talk about two more. Shadow work. Do your shadow work. Go within. Look at the things that you're being triggered by. Look at the ways that people in your life mirror the things you need to work on. And number 6, last but not least, watch your inner dialogue. Watch the things that you're telling yourself during this time. Watch what it is you're affirming each and every day. It helps to say affirmations to keep you on track. It's not enough to think them, though, because remember, there's a lot of stuff that's happening up here during this time. You have to say the affirmations. You have to say the mantras throughout the day. You have to say them in the morning. When you start feeling topsy-turvy, you may have to tell yourself, this is my heart chakra opening. This is my heart chakra opening. This is my heart chakra opening. When you're dealing with a confrontation in the street and somebody's cussing you out and blowing their horn, or somebody at the job is asking you for the 5th time straight, where's the paperwork that I told you to give me last week, and you know you gave it to them. Instead of going off the deep end, this is where you say to yourself, you talk to yourself, okay? And you say, I am in my peace at this time and I am undisturbed. I am in my peace at this time and I am undisturbed, okay? Or you self-coach and you do the things that help you move through the difficulties that you need to move through. Again, you're with Tanisha Ali. Don't forget to purchase the book on Amazon. Come back and see me for the second and third parts of this video. Have a beautiful, beautiful time as you spiritually awaken to the reality of what this whole thing is about and who you really are in this whole thing. Have a beautiful, peaceful, and productive day. Join the evolution.